Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, America's latest all-star animated movie with a green message, doesn't stand a chance as far as woodland-related japes are concerned when measured against Leamington Spa's Dizzy. Dizzy's environmentally conscious, subscribes to Peace on Earth, and he's been recycled more times than the average milk bottle. What a guy. Boing, boing, it's time to bounce around Egg World again, collecting things, solving problems, and avoiding trolls. But most importantly of all, you've got to rescue Diz's one and only true love, Daisy, who's been trapped under a sleeping spell by evil Rockwart the troll and currently lies in an enchanted castle doing Sleeping Beauty impressions. It all started off one day when their mischievous pet Pogi stole a half-ton of cherries which Dizzy and Daisy were going to use to make a Twin Peaks pie for Grand Dizzy. They chased him out into the forest to recover them, and pick up a few more into the bargain, but got hopelessly lost in the enchanted castle. Guide Dizzy around forest, castle, and clouds, collecting cherries, snippets of conversation, and all manner of useful implements. Sort the whole mess out. You also get to meet or help out other characters like Dylan, of all people, King Arthur and his famous sword Excalibur, and a noble lion who has also fallen prey to Rockwart's evil scheming. As usual, the presentation of this game is magnificent. Graphics are funny and colorful, and recognizing then picking up, using or dropping objects is easy. Unfortunately, control is somewhat difficult due to Dizzy's propensity to roll around a lot, while the distance between clouds and trees and other objects only Dizzy, and a few other Codemasters stalwarts, can walk on, or through, can mean getting around sometimes takes a lot of work. However, Dizzy, Prince of the Yolkfolk, has lots of playability and lastability, so you'll never get bored, just a little frustrated perhaps. A special mention must go to the soundtrack. It's really atmospheric and medieval and fits the bill perfectly. Unless you already have it on compilation, Prince of the Yolkfolk is well worth getting, whether you're new to these eggy adventure games or a hard-boiled fan already. The game has very good graphics. The colors are lush and suit the atmosphere of the game with their palette with dominant shades of brown, dirty yellow, green, blue and gray. However, the most impressive aspect are the details. Prince of the Yolkfolk is graphically similar to Magicland, with some elements directly copied from that game with minor changes in shade. However, there is much more attention to the details. Far away, in the background, mysterious and disquieting mountain fortresses and huts can be seen. They have no influence on the story and gameplay, but they add to the mysterious and magical atmosphere of the game. The game also has very good music, apart from some of the melodies in Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy, perhaps the best music in a Dizzy game. The music also creates a mysterious, in some way yearning mood. As usually in Dizzy games, there is no possibility to save, but in such a short game it doesn't matter. It's only a big drawback in the largest Dizzy games. The difficulty level is okay. It's better to watch your step while walking in the clouds, and it's difficult, but not dangerous, to get back out of the castle behind the lake. It's a kind of a pixel jump. You have to jump when the lift is at its highest point, but most parts aren't too difficult. In this game the items to collect are cherries, and most of them are visible. Mostly in fan games some collectibles are hidden, so well you have to ask other players for hints. One could complain over a few graphical details, such as too much contrast in size between tall trees able to hold platforms and smaller trees which are just a part of the background. Walking back and forth can get boring, however, it has always been a part of Dizzy games. And, also as usually, there is hardly a real story to the game, despite its adventure component, and it's difficult to understand the connection between the king being away and Daisy being asleep. As I said in the summary, the game's shortness isn't really a drawback. It's a game you can complete in about an hour if you know how to solve it, so it's rather relaxing and not just too short. However, Dizzy's problems began with this game. It was announced as part of a game pack and then released alone, and it disappointed when compared with the very complex, spellbound Dizzy. Many fans had the opinion that Dizzy games were losing quality. Later, when Crystal Kingdom Dizzy was being sold at twice the price of previous adventures, Dizzy games quite suddenly stopped selling well. Now it's easy to disregard those bad marketing decisions, probably because lots of games are available for free. In late 2011 the first official Dizzy game in many years has been made, and it was a smartphone remake of Prince of the Yolkfolk. The graphics look impressive, although also too sweet, but I won't be able to say much about the game until it's released for computers and not just devices that my 2000 mobile phone couldn't even imagine. Winky face. Are Codemasters perhaps repeating the mistake they made when they thought few people were still playing games on computers and decided to focus on consoles? This isn't a brand new game, but a rebuild of the fourth game in the series, Dizzy, Prince of the Yolkfolk. The visuals have been updated, along with the control scheme, and a few minor changes have been made to appease modern gaming sensibilities. The premise is that Dizzy's girlfriend Daisy has fallen asleep under a magic spell, and has been stashed away in a tower. Also, the cherry pie that Dizzy and Daisy had been planning on making has been sabotaged, because the cherries have been stolen. Finally, an angry troll has locked Dizzy up in an underground dungeon. The poor chap is having a really bad day. The aim of the game is to resolve Dizzy's troubles by exploring the map, interacting with the various characters, and answering riddles by matching them up with the appropriate objects. It's a gentle pace of gaming, more Monkey Island than Super Mario, though Dizzy shares genetic material with both. The first puzzle to solve makes for a clever introduction to the game's mechanic, escaping from the dungeon. It involves using some dry leaves, matches, and a bucket of water. We won't spoil the solution for you, but suffice it to say that once you've figured it out you're going to have a pretty strong idea of how the rest of the game will play, and whether you're going to enjoy it. The main concession to modernity is that the difficulty level has been significantly reduced. The original game gave you just 3 lives, which upped the stakes somewhat. Here, that's been dropped in favor of infinite lives and respawning in the vicinity near where you died. It's a small quibble, but it makes the presence of hazards in the game, and there are a couple, entirely redundant. There was also a bug in the version we tested, letting you walk through a wall and sidestep a good third of the quest. Even without this bug, the game is pretty easy, and experienced players should be able to complete it in one sitting. Maybe our memory is playing tricks, but the original 8-bit versions were much harder than this. Other than that, there's much to enjoy about Dizzy, Prince of the Yolkfolk. It's a welcome revival, and proof that wit, charm, and well-made games will never become dated. The graphics and sound are decently produced, and the control scheme is economical and unobtrusive, providing Dizzy and his setting with a modern gloss whilst still maintaining their original character. If anything, it's rather surprising that Codemasters hadn't thought to do something like this sooner. It's sitting on a wealth of archive material that would make a perfect fit for the App Store, not least Fantasy Island Dizzy and Advanced Lawnmower Simulator. Fingers crossed that one day soon those titles will get a remastering of their own. For anyone who was playing games in the late 1980s, the gamer's favorite anthropomorphic egg was always Dizzy, protagonist in a successful series of platform puzzlers who has returned to spawn a new generation of followers with a revamp of his most critically acclaimed title. It's been given a graphical lick of paint with HD cartoon visuals replacing the 2D sprites, while keeping the playful tone familiar to fans. The game itself remains largely untouched, with Dizzy busily helping out everything from a lion to the Grim Reaper. The touch controls are slightly awkward, but they're responsive, and putting them on either side of the screen, not in one corner, makes it easier. It may well see a new generation take to the classic character and further titles updated. Let's hope so, they deserve a wider audience.